And, oh, my throat. That was bad. And coming to you live from Kenny's basement apartment where we just came down here for a quickie before the game. It's Sports Allegedly.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this abbreviated version of Sports Allegedly on this 8th day of January 2024. Really, we're just going to get down to it. We're going to talk about, we'll preview the football playoff championship games that were played last week between Texas and Washington, and then also Michigan, Alabama, and then we'll preview and make our predictions for tonight's game, which is starting in about
10 minutes.
Not ever on time, so probably more like 15. But anyway, let's get to it. Let's talk about. Do
you want to explain to everybody why we started late and not at 5:30 like previously planned?
Had a meeting. But anyway, all right. Let's start with Michigan, Alabama. Overtime game. Michigan beats Alabama. I thought the game pretty much went as I would expect it. I did pick Alabama to win. I was looking at our predictions from last week. We had low scoring. Of course, that was in overtime, though, too. We had 24-17 and 27-23.
Oh, who got 27-23?
That'd be me.
No.
But it was the opposite. I went the wrong way. So, but no, I thought that it was exactly – it went into the hands of Michigan the whole game. I mean, it was Michigan's game plan. It was to slow Alabama's offense down, play good defense, time management.
Milroe looked lost in that game.
You know, he started out kind of okay, and
that first series was fine, and then after that, it just went downhill. It looked like he did in the beginning of the season, and even in the Texas game.
The Texas game. Yeah,
like we saw this kid, and we thought that he was maturing throughout the season, and you know they went in and they beat the brakes off of a Georgia team, who a lot of people said probably should have been in the college football playoff. But turns around and was he stymied by the defense?
I think the defense played really well. I mean, if you haven't watched Michigan play, I mean, their front four, even their front seven.
Are we going to start believing in Michigan defense? Are we going to start believing in Michigan as an overall team?
Not quite, because we'll talk about tonight's game as a preview, because I'm not quite so. Now, I'm not saying they're not bad, not good. By no means they're good. No,
I wasn't saying that. I just is it time to start believing in them?
I think
the last few seasons have been, letdowns, and they did they make it to the game
cast on that?
Did they make it to the playoffs last year? No.
Michigan, yes, lost to TCU.
Yeah, lost to TCU, and the year before.
I don't know if they made the playoffs the year before.
Did they get beat?
But they lost. This was
game?
The first bowl win they've had in like 5 or 6 tries.
Right.
So, or playoff, either way you want to put it. So there was a playoff in, and Milroe 16-23, 116 yards. His quarterback rating was 45. And then you look at McCartney, whose draft stock is rising. I mean, he's going to be one of those quiet sleeper guys that's going to be drafted higher than Brock Purdy, but unfortunately, is going to be compared to him. The way I feel.
You're just hoping he's another Tom Brady.
And so 17-27 for him for 220 yards. His QBR rating was 91. So no picks by either one, but you're right. I mean, Alabama focused on the run, and I thought they had at times some ability to run the ball against Michigan, and that'll lead into my segment about Washington
more like
against
a regression of Milroe.
Michigan. Yeah, I did. And I thought it was disappointing that to see him. He did look at times a little lost and had all this time to practice and prepare for Michigan. But this isn't an Alabama team that has been an Alabama team like the past. It just hasn't.
It hasn't. But they finished the season.
Him credit,
they finished the season strong.
I was getting ready to say, give him credit.
And you got to remember that Bill O'Brien said that he would never be a collegiate quarterback.
Yeah. And like I said, give him credit for getting back to the playoffs. And
that's an asterisk.
Not a good season for Alabama fans in terms of finishing what they were hoping, because it's never good now that they won a national championship.
Because they held Texas over their head all season long.
They did, and like we talked about, Alabama continued to play better throughout the year. Milroe looked better, but I think he's got some talent, and he did move his legs.
I don't believe that he's not talented. I want to know what happened to him in that game. I don't know where the Jalen Milroe.
I don't
that
think
we saw after the Texas game, and all the way into the SEC championship game, where that guy went.
I don't think we're giving enough credit probably to Michigan though.
That's what I'm asking. Is it time to start believing in that Michigan defense?
We'll see. I mean, total yards was 288, 351. Passing yards are about equal, and Alabama outrushed them, which was surprising. Now, obviously, Milroe had a lot to do with that because the pocket collapsed a lot on him. Time of possession, Alabama actually held 2. The penalties were low. They both had 1 turnover.
And what's funny is that DC for Michigan he's an ex-Raven coordinator?
No, he was there. No, you got it backwards. The DC for Ravens is an ex-Michigan coordinator, but he was there.
Oh, okay.
For the game, yes, yeah, because John was there too, or they'll be there tonight. I don't know if they were there before. They weren't there before. I'm sorry. I think they'll be there tonight because they're off for the playoff.
It was a Monday night, and they would.
They'll be there tonight. So anyway, no, it was. You look at one of the best playoff games I've watched though. It wasn't a blowout.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I enjoyed it. And
it
that
was
was
in the Rose Bowl, which is always nice.
Wasn't this the same night that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was going on?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even.
I think it was. I think the induction time. I'm like, why are you guys going up against? Why are you guys going against the college football playoff?
It's rock and roll. It's how they like it.
Yeah, but come on. There was nothing flashy about it. Isaiah Bond had the big 29-yard reception for Milroe.
They played,
but you look over here at Michigan, and Michigan their long was Roman Wilson with 29, Tyler Morse with a 38, Blake Corn with a 27. You can even go down to Kellen Mullings at 19. The longest for Alabama was Isaiah Bond at a 29, and then it gets down to Kobe Prentice at 13 for only 1 pass.
Yeah, it was. It like I said, it was more of the run, and it was the defense keeping them in check. It was defense keeping them in check. So the thing is, but it was one of the best. Like I said, one of the best playoff games that I've watched. I enjoyed it.
Well, this is what we didn't talk about: the turnover game.
Yeah, I think it was.
Turnover game was won by Michigan.
Well, no, it was only 1-1, wasn't it?
No, it was 5 total.
Well, but they only lost it once. So that's what I'm saying. I think the turnovers, were equal. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there were no interceptions. Were there? No interceptions. But the fumble game was still big.
Well, it
really was. I forgot about that.
It was just 1-1.
It's been a weekend. I've had to work.
It was 1-1. I mean, but yeah, the Alabama was more penalties. Like I said, it was the most even game, one of the most even playoff games I've watched.
Yeah, it was instead of a blowout.
Not a lot of dramatics, but it was fun to go into overtime.
Instead of a comeback win by Georgia, Preston, or a blowout by Joe Burrow and LSU.
Shitting on every OU playoff game.
Well, no, they blew out a lot of people. Joe Burrow and that Oregon team. They blew out a lot. They blew out a lot of people.
Potentially in let's say the last 2 decades.
I mean, they were one of the strongest teams
of all time.
Yeah. So no, it wasn't just shitting on OU. It was those teams. And what last year? What did Georgia win by last year? Didn't they have a big? They had a big blowout.
Oh yeah, they killed TCU in the championship.
Murdered TCU, and TCU was took out Michigan.
That's why I was so impressed by Alabama beating Georgia this year, because I still think they played 10 times. I'd say Georgia probably wins 6 or 7.
No, we can't talk about the Georgia-Florida State game because Florida State lost half their team, either setting out, going to the draft, or transferring.
Oh yeah,
they lost all their quarterbacks.
We talked about that last week as the end of the bowl era. Now it'll be interesting to see as we move forward to the playoffs this year how they're going to integrate more of those bowls, how they're going to do it. Some are going to be home and home.
Oh, well, we know the Peach Bowl is going to be in there.
So, all right. That leaves Washington winning. Now we're going to segue into Texas and Washington. I'm not going to take credit for being right about this game.
I'm not going to take credit either for being right.
So, what I thought would happen was I thought that
they are who we thought they were.
I really thought that Texas. I thought that the Texas Washington game was going to be more interesting, more exciting,
right? Yeah.
And it was, as far as scoring points and moving. But I think
once Texas got down, they couldn't get back up.
I think what in reality though is the speed of Washington, which is exactly what I thought would happen, it got Texas.
Yeah.
And I thought Ewers played okay. He didn't have his greatest
we
game.
went into halftime tied. But, Washington comes out, pops 10 points, and Texas lays an egg in the third quarter. You can't keep up. You can't get behind.
Well, when we talk about this, in honesty, Texas looked like they were going to come back and win this game.
They really did. I was like,
because in the fourth quarter, right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, Washington did go up 34-21. Then they let the touchdown back to Mitchell. It was
a weird game because all of a sudden Washington looked unstoppable, and Texas couldn't do anything. And then both teams would go to where they couldn't look like they couldn't do anything, and then Texas would turn it on.
I think,
then Washington looked like they couldn't do it. I was like, man, this game is stressful for me.
I think that what you don't realize.
I don't imagine if Craig had hair.
At the end of the game, you want to dial him. We're going
to pop Craig in right now.
We're going to talk to our Texas bystander here in a little bit.
What was his number? Was it that?
But what we're going to talk about, but in reality, when you get down to it, hold on.
I forgot what his number is. Oh, it might be this one.
Hold on.
6.
Don't say that. It's the 970. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, as we get him on the phone, I think the thing about the speed, though, Texas is big. I thought Texas defensive line didn't play as well as anticipated and what was projected of them. And I thought that the speed of – and I thought Penix and the wide receivers once again had a hell of a game. Kick down on me a little bit, Sean, so I can see the stats for the receivers because it'd been a minute, too, since I'd seen that. But the time of possession –
what do you want?
just go down to the receivers. I just want to see some of their numbers. But
huge numbers.
So Polk and Dunzy, that both.
Sports allegedly.
All right, thanks, Craig, for joining us on this episode, our shortened episode for the recap of Texas and Washington. Give us your thoughts on the game. Of course, you're a fan, and you know every player's name and every position they play, and we don't. But give us a little rundown of what you thought of how they played, and then what you saw from Washington. And is Washington got a shot tonight?
I think I'm going to pull a rabbit out of the hat like all the OU Sooner fans and say that was pass interference in the end zone. No. No, Texas just it was so up and down. They had a chance to win it and couldn't do it. I think the quarterback play was not very good on the Texas side.
Yeah, I was going to call and have a wellness check done on you.
I was too busy outside shadow boxing.
Well, I'm sure he turned his phone off for a while because I'm sure that everybody and their dog was texting or calling.
What? Craig, why would they call? Why would they do that? I
can't imagine why they do that.
Why would they do that?
The only call I remember is Kenny Weiss's messages he sent to me.
I wasn't too crude. I was.
Yeah, I can only imagine what those were like after what you send us.
Well, no, because I've been there. I've been to the playoffs before. It's Texas' first time. How
does it feel? How are you feeling with getting there and feeling like a big man and then just being let down?
Well, I mean, if you really want to think about it, it really isn't. I honestly think Texas in the SEC is going to do pretty good, and I think OU will as well.
No, I agree, and I thought you talked about Ewers. His numbers weren't bad, but there was certain times that in some of his possessions, especially on third down. I thought he could have done better. And I think, though, what I told you about beforehand was I thought that Washington's speed would be a real asset to them. And the wide receivers, both had over 100 yards average. Both had over 100 yards receiving in that game and averaged over 20 a catch. Of course, they did have two. They had two long ones, but they spread that ball around. See, most of those receivers had 5, 6, and then some had a couple, so you essentially had 7 receivers have 29 catches. And so they spread that around. And I thought that while Dylan Johnson didn't have a good game statistically running for Washington, they kept feeding him the ball to keep your line honest. And I thought that hurt.
He was hurt. He had to come out.
Texas weakness really showed. Their defensive back is
correct.
That really showed in that game.
I agree. Nope, I totally agree. And
I think if the backs would have played better, I think Texas would have won, which I would have always thought. But the defensive backside on Texas is not very good. So hopefully hopefully they bring in some really good defensive backs. I think I seen where they got one from. Is it LSU?
Yeah, they've got some good ones coming in, and they had some good freshmen come in last year. So their recruiting's doing really well for them as far as that goes. So, but what they lose is going to be pretty dramatic too, as far as I think they lose. Most
and the front line is going to be bad. That's a big loss.
And I think they lose most of their wide receivers.
Well, what's his name?
Or I guess the ones that have been
running backs going to the NFL.
Baxter will be back.
No,
he's young.
Yeah, Baxter.
Yeah, he's too young.
The guy that got injured.
Worthy.
Oh, yeah,
or not Worthy.
Brooks. I haven't heard about
Brooks.
Brooks.
He's already declared.
Okay. Yeah, Worthy's out.
I don't think that's a big loss. I think Baxter was, and you might think I'm dumb for saying this, but I think Baxter was
the better back.
Just as good as Brooks.
He is. He's more talented for sure. I think that Brooks was getting the brunt of the carries because of his age.
Now, what do you think about the quarterback controversy that's brewing at Texas? Because they've already come out and said that it's not Quinn Ewer's job.
I mean, how can you take it from him, honestly?
24, 48, 318 yards.
It might just be Sarkisian being dramatic, but
I think he said that just to try to make sure that that Manning's not going to leave. Which I don't think he has a chance of leaving. I just think he kind of tries to.
I don't think he's got a chance of playing ever. I think the guy's going to make some money in college and probably play 1 year and be about 8-4 and then go to the draft.
$2.4 million.
Now he claims that wasn't true.
Yeah,
he did come out and say that.
Manning.
Yeah, he did say
they all lie.
He did say he wasn't making more than Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy made only $800,000. Now Brock's got.
I don't know if this matters, but have you guys seen what the odds are of who could win the national championship next year already?
Well, I know
Texas is way up there.
I'm surprised though with all the players they're losing. I really am. I think that would be like I think it would be like putting Washington up there in a high standard too.
And with Texas having the harder SEC game.
I think Texas will have another good year next year, but I don't know. You know how it is.
Well, you got A&M coming on too. They got Elko. They've got a bunch of guys transferring in.
Do they have to play A&M this year? Do they finally have to do that?
Yeah, I think it's.
They've been running from each other. I know.
I think it's going to be exciting to see OU and Texas both in the SEC.
I do too. So give us recap on Alabama and Michigan. Did you get to watch that one?
I actually won that bet on that side.
Yes, you did.
Pretty excited about that.
You did. So we evened our bets. There was no real winner. We both split.
But you was quick to let me know that you picked Texas to get beat. Let me tell you.
I did.
Well, I mean, we all would have.
I didn't have any really rooting interest in Michigan, Alabama. You see, that wasn't a thing. So
and I said that I said that Michigan. I didn't think that Alabama could throw against Michigan, and I'm honestly going to say that tonight. I think Michigan wins it.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. So you think Michigan wins? What do you think? It's because the secondary? You think the defensive front line is just going to give them so many fits, and
Michigan's secondary is really really good.
They have
a really good defense.
Well, I'm going to ask you: Are you ready to believe in Michigan's defense?
Oh, 100%. I think they're not going to be able to run on Michigan, and I mean, they're going to be able to pass on Michigan, but I think there won't be so many big plays. I think Michigan stops them.
That's what's going to be key. That was one of the things I was going to talk about for Washington. Washington, to win this game, has to have some sort of running game, whether it be Johnson, who's still banged up, or even Penix, or some other type of running ability from somebody to keep them in check for the passing. And Craig, you're right.
I think that too, but I think they also have to win the turnover game.
The big play. See, and I don't know why everybody thinks that's so down. I've got Washington winning this. I think Washington wins it in the end. I think, just like I said about Texas, I honestly think that Texas is a better team besides the secondary. I think Texas is equivalent to Michigan in this game. And I don't think that yours is that much worse than McCartney. I just don't. I
don't either.
And that's why I think that Michigan. I think this might be a surprise. I think Washington's going to going to have some plays, and I think the speed, like I said about Texas, is going to surprise. And you ever watch Michigan or Washington play? And I've watched them quite a bit actually this year. I think I've watched more Pac-12 football than I have ever, just because the conference was so good this year. But they don't really screw up a lot. They are very well coached. They're very disciplined. They know what they're doing, and they have a plan to do it. And you turn around and you look at Michigan. Michigan's got the talent. I don't think they've got a potent offense per se. They do have a balanced one.
Has anybody thrown on Michigan? Has anybody had that big?
Probably not, because they're 14.
Michigan?
But okay. So now that's something else I was going to say though. Is do you think maybe though that do you think the Pac? If you looked at the Big Ten though, do you think that you would call them a high scoring offenses in the Pac-12 or in the Big Ten the Big Ten? I don't see anybody. The second one was Ohio State, and their quarterback transferred. Third best team was Penn State. Yeah. Their offense is horrific.
And Purdue's been trying to bring in passers.
Yeah, and Iowa, they were ranked, and they had the worst offense probably I guarantee you they were in the hundreds in offense.
Well, they were bad.
And I don't even think they scored against Michigan. It wasn't like
they didn't.
They didn't. It was 26.
No,
it was awful.
No, the most points that got scored.
I think everybody won that game.
The most points that got scored on them was 24 points, and that was Maryland and Ohio State.
I don't think Washington's going to be able to throw the ball as much. I think Michigan wins by 12.
Give us a final score.
42-30 Michigan.
Okay. All right, buddy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. I'll see you.
All right. There was our Texas bystander, Craig. So he's obviously still upset about Texas losing. He just won't tell you that. But he played it off pretty well, I thought. No, he did well. No, it was fun. And, hey, Sean, what's your keys to the game?
Keys to the game is establishing any sort of run game
for Washington.
Yeah,
I agree.
They staying disciplined. They literally have got to stay disciplined. Penix is going to have to Adunze is going to have to get open, and because it's a good thing they don't have just one premier receiver.
They're balanced there.
They've at least got that, so that way they can spread that defense. They have to protect Penix. Penix has got to be protected at all costs, because if Penix is not protected, it's going to go downhill quickly. And I mean quickly.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And
turnover, the turnover.
That always helps. I mean, that's going to help, because if you see
but everybody's the Jaguars.
If you get a big difference either way, then you could see obviously a big lead for Michigan if the turnovers go in the wrong way. But I think really for Michigan, I think they've just got to keep doing what they've done all year. They play solid defense, run the ball, throw the ball when they need to. I wonder how much the Michigan thing is going to just. I don't know if is the coaching thing for Harbaugh distraction at all. It doesn't seem to distract them at all.
Well, that's not a distraction, because he hasn't really been there a lot of the season. Remember, he was suspended 3 games at the end of the season, and he was suspended.
And you're probably right. A lot of the
3 games at the beginning of the season.
They have good coaching. The leadership.
Yeah, the backup has been, and does he stay? Mm-hmm. So, does anybody want him?
He'll be the head coach at Michigan. If Harbaugh leaves, is it Sharon?
Yeah,
I think more. God, I can't. I need to learn his name, because he will be the head coach.
Need to learn names.
He will be the new head coach. All right, Sean. As we get ready to close out, thank you for joining us for this quick one. We're gonna take a break, and we'll be back.
Well, I mean, we need to talk about.
Hold on. We'll be back. We'll be back. Wednesday. We'll do our NFL playoff special and our predictions. But as we close up, I've got Michigan 42-30 for our Texas bystander. What do you got, Sean, for yours?
I might go at 27-30 Washington.
You're picking Washington?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Does that hurt you?
I was hoping to go against you, but I guess not.
We don't have anything to go against. We didn't tie. It was you and your wife.
So
with your family pick.
So Washington
You two have to do something.
I think it's gonna be. I think I'm gonna go 31. 28-27.
It's a 1 point game.
28-27. I think it's close. No, let's go 28-24. 28-24. I'm going Washington too. I think the speed gets them. I'm changing my pick already. 27-24.
Michigan's gonna have to. Michigan's gonna have to have JJ McCarthy. Hitting.
Well, they're obviously the favored. They're 5.5 point favorites. Most everybody on.
But like I said, is it time to start believing in the defense?
Well, I think everyone's believed in that, but I said let's put it together, and I want to see them play. This is probably the most highest powered offense that they've played all year.
Absolutely,
say.
Yeah. So this is an offensive weapons. They've got a good tight end. They've got good receivers.
And Washington,
Phoenix has been making good decisions.
And Washington's been the underdog. They've been the.
I want to say it's one of the smartest quarterbacks that they've faced all season.
Oh, I think he's the best quarterback by far.
I said smartest.
And best overall. I mean, I think he's the most talented. I think this kid, I didn't give him a lot of credit at the beginning of the year. I mean, I knew he'd be good and Washington would be all right. But, I mean, that team overall, they're balanced. And that's why I think they're going to win tonight. I think they'll be the national champs.
Washington cannot get down early. That is one thing. And I know they came back in the Oregon game, but that's a whole different defense. That's a whole, everything's different about that.
It's going to be interesting. All right, here we go. Game start. We'll see y'all. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you
Craig
Wednesday.
Says Baker ain't baking.
We'll talk about that Wednesday.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
playoffs
we'll talk
again
about
there.
Kenny's. We're gonna talk about Kenny's hot take on Tua versus Josh Allen. No, Josh Allen was crap, but Tua did not.
I forgot about that one interception. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Wednesday.
So we don't want to say anything about Zach Allen?
No, we'll talk about that later.
Because you want to get in the game, don't you?
We want to get in the game. We want to get it going. All right. We'll see y'all. We'll see you Wednesday. Thanks for joining us.
All right, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I guess that's it. I don't know where I'm at.